All right. Hey, welcome back, guys. All right, let's get into this. It's going to be a collective message. I oftentimes will start these out with some anecdote, something real that happened pertaining to Aries. And what I'm about to say has nothing to do with this first card, which is the Lover's card. But Aries is still favoring his little paw. He's not walking funny, but every time we come in from a walk, he works on it. And when I try to go and, I assess it frequently, and he usually, if he wants help with something, he tells me. When he doesn't, it's because he's like, it's just sore, leave it alone, mom. And that's kind of still his behavior. It's not impeding him running and jumping and doing anything, but I see that he's like sore afterwards. So I don't know. I think we'll still get it checked out at our vet at our next appointment. But in the meantime, all I can say is I probably am helicopter parenting right now, but hey, it's my baby. So we have got the Lover's card. Perhaps somebody is being overly hovering over, little details as an act of, they can't help it. They care. So the little subtleties that you see in somebody, the little subtleties of, how they're behaving or what they're doing might be more visible, perhaps, is the way to think about that. The Lover's card can be a card of choice, but here we definitely see two amazing and almost mythical creatures, right? We have Pan falling in love with a mermaid. And so there's a really nice vibe to this. Right now, this feels like a fantasy romance. It feels like perhaps there's, more emphasis put on it, but less concrete. Like if both of them are mythical, then neither one of them is even accessible, right? We've got the Ten of Cups in the reverse. Ten of Cups in the reverse is we have not had fulfillment between these two. We have a Five of Wands sideways. I definitely feel like we have an unfulfilled desire, and I feel like there's probably a lot of wanting going on and a lot of care and a lot of attention that admittedly could be too much, what do I want to say? Assumption without enough fact. Let's take another look here. Somebody's going round and round in their mind, but I almost feel like they're both going round and round in their minds about each other. Three of Cups in the reverse. Why do we keep seeing these two having this unattainable love story, yet they think about this all the time? And just because when I say unattainable, it doesn't mean that it's really unattainable. It just means that they haven't come into a relationship yet. We have a Four of Cups. We have the Chariot. The tides have to bring this back in. There has to be direct action. The only reason a relationship seems unattainable right now is because right now we are operating in the illusion category instead of the action taking. Let me make you one of my wolf pack. Let me start talking to you. Let me have you in my life on the day-to-day. Okay, but why is it that these two have not yet merged energies and become part of each other's day-to-day routine? Seven of Cups and the Lovers again. We've got somebody who's out there as the lone wolf, not knowing how do I bring this into love story? How do I get close to this person? Let me ask this. Is this feeling mutual, or is this right now just on one person's mindset? And the reason I'm going to say Pan is our lead character is because he is the one on land. Pan is known in the Greek world, Greek mythological world, as the lusty little god, the rustic little god, associated with the forest and forest creatures and, like passions and such. They didn't build temples to him, but rather, kind of had forested areas dedicated to the idea of Pan. And the fact that we see him here, it kind of makes me think that he's the one who has this idea that this elusive mermaid is somebody he really cares for, but he's still out there saying, but I'm all by myself, but I'd like her to be part of my wolf pack. I'd like to snuggle with her. I'd like all of this. Okay, Ace of Cups in the reverse. Why are you thinking that as much as you want this, either she doesn't know of you. Page of Wands, she knows of you. She's waiting on you, darling. She's waiting on you to step out of your world, your mansion. I was asking, is this mutual or is this only one-sided? And it's almost looking like it is mutual. They know of each other, but he's the one who would have to move into her world by exiting his somehow. She's leaning up by the tree of life and, you know, maybe lives a slightly more humble life, right? She's not in a sports car. She got her bicycle. But that could just mean that she's somebody who's, you know, living her best life, doing her thing, likes the outdoors, you know, likes physical activity. But it seems like he's the one in a mansion, which is ironic because he's represented by Pan, the lusty god who's dancing about throughout the forest, cavorting. And yet she sees him as somebody who's locked in a mansion and he would have to come out and meet her. So we have these two characters both having different ideas kind of about where the blockage is. Let me ask this. Mermaid, do you want him? Two of Pentacles. Why are you negotiating? Where's, I think it's like, well, I mean, sure, I would, but oh God, 10 of Cups upright. Yeah, but you know, it would have to be, I'm not going to go chase him. He'd have to want to give to me and I'd want to give to him. There's, you know what I feel like is there's a shyness involved in this story. The shyness does not extend to my dog, Aries. Tatanka, come here. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to corral the boy after this. He's been very vocal again today. We've got the Knight of Pentacles upright. We certainly see an element of like longing for someone, but then it's always like someday I would love to like maybe accidentally encounter her when I'm out and about. Someday I'd love to, you know, wouldn't it be great to bump into her at a club or at some music festival? God, it'd be so amazing. It feels like he's hoping things naturally come about. In the meantime, she just lives in his head as a fantasy of, you know, this elusive, how am I ever going to see her in the 3D realm? Maybe at some point on down the road, we'll bump into each other. Maybe they both patronize the same kind of events or clubs or music festivals or something. He's just hoping that there will be a natural flow of things. But she's saying, I mean, I actually think we could be a real 10 of Cups, but he'd have to like, he's inaccessible in her mind. Why do you think he's inaccessible? I don't understand that. The Moon, she's like, because I don't really know anything about him. I don't know where he's at. I wouldn't know how to find him. Is that really true? You're saying you don't know much about him. Then why would you be drawn to him if you don't know much about him? Because he's a rock star, baby. He's Ace of Swords. Okay, I don't know who we're dealing with here. If he is somebody, even Pan, by the way, is like a musician of sorts, right? He plays a pan flute. So if Pan is representing him, and now we have this rock star musician here, we had kind of like a music club going on. If he is somebody that is in her mind, like he's got all these adoring fans around him. Now he doesn't have to be a musician. He doesn't have to be like a literal rock star, but maybe he is. Maybe he's very influential. Maybe he's somebody who's, we've been getting a lot of these stories lately. But it almost seems like she says, I mean, he would have to make the decision to move my direction. It would be with all the adoring fans he has around him, with all the people who are interested in him. And trust me, there's many, 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 many people. She's like, there's so much competition for his attention. He would have to cut through the other competitors and pick me because he certainly has way more options than I do. It's not me who's the hang up. It's him. He's inaccessible. He's surrounded by millions of people, hundreds of people, dozens of people that are much closer to him in his life and have more access to him, and that he has more opportunities. It's like she pictures him being somebody who's very sought after by many, many people. Lots of love is showered upon him with that Knight of Cups. And it's like, he could have his pick of anybody. He would actually have to pick me, not vice versa, because I'm just one of the many that is drawn to him. Why does she see him as like this amazing, catch, this cat's meow, this Three of Wands, Queen of Pentacles? You know what's weird? Part of her does see him that way and part of her doesn't. Part of her says, you know what, if there's an interest, I'm as good as any option that he would maybe meet. It's not like she feels less about herself or feels like she is someone who he wouldn't be interested in. But at the same time, it's like, am I being a fool for ever thinking that we would even have a chance to cross paths? She kind of came across as somebody who lives a fairly humble life. We also do see her as someone who's kind of like doing well in her own right. She may have like more success on the horizon for her, but she might also be saying, unless I were somebody with a lot more clout and a lot more success behind me, I would probably never cross paths with him. There's some energy here of, it's not that she thinks poorly of herself. It's just that she's not walking in his world. Why is he thinking that at some point, if we magically cross paths, that would be amazing? The world, look, I will agree that the world moves in small circles. I have had very uncanny things happen in my own life where, I was like in Athens, Greece, and somebody that I met on an airplane, I bumped into them again like 2 weeks later. I had another situation again in Athens, Greece, where many years later on, I bumped into the same person twice, just one day apart. And it's just like, Athens is a big city. Granted, if you're in Plaka city center, it's still, even there's a lot of winding streets. What are the odds that you're going to bump into the same person? There are funny coincidences that happen in this big, huge world. Especially when in between me being in Athens, I had been in Rome and back again. And, it's just unexpected sometimes how you can end up bumping into somebody with absolutely, you don't even know them. You don't even know why your energetic fields keep bringing you into each other's worlds, that those weird things can happen. And in one of those scenarios, I was like, okay, we must be meant to be friends. And so sure enough, I ended up being friends with this couple that I just met on the airplane and then bumped into them 2 weeks later, after I'd traveled other places, because we were like, we got to sit down and have drinks or something, and we stayed friends for a while. But it just turned out that, sometimes the world does move in small circles. So why is he thinking at some point they might bump into each other? He's thinking that either she will be in the same place that he's going to be at some point in time. Something about travel, something about specifically her traveling. Maybe she does travel. Maybe here we see her getting off of a plane. Here she's kind of flying in business class. We see her in his mind as somebody that's traveling, but she kind of sees her own self doing that too. So a travel could be, crossing to the other side of town and going to a restaurant or bar. This doesn't have to be some huge global thing. This could be he and she live in the same very small town, but let's say that he's a business owner with a lot of people that, they see him as very eligible, bachelor, bachelorette. Everybody wants a piece of him. Everybody's interested in him. And she's like, I'm not part of his inner circle. And he keeps thinking, God, I'd love to like bump into her at the grocery store. I'd love to, come across her on a whatever Sunday afternoon as she's, going to her favorite park, or, it doesn't have to be something so huge. We see a lot of cards that show like a big world scale, but we could shrink this into a storyline about two people that live in the same very tiny town, that they just haven't come together. But he thinks so much about her, but she thinks he'd have to make a move toward her. Let me just ask this. Are these two in each other's thoughts enough that this is going to be manifested into like meeting in the 3D realm? We have a 9 of Cups in the reverse. That says they're starting to kind of give up hope. Nine of Cups should be like a single person's, pursuit of great joy and great happiness. Ace of Swords is sideways. I almost feel like these characters are starting to kind of detach a little from even the hope of this. That Ace of Swords being there can depict truth and clarity, but this card says we got to cut through the confusion to get to truth and clarity. Sideways, it says both of them are kind of feeling like, I don't think this is ever going to happen. That's not great for manifesting. Prince of Swords in the reverse is really going to bog it down. They're not going to meet anytime soon. Is that how it's supposed to go, universe? Or is this just what they're doing because they keep thinking negatively? Wow, that card really came out fast. Six of Swords sideways. The universe is like, they're moving away from each other. They're maybe in truth, they each have something that they need to heal from, because really, why are these adults not reaching out to each other in the first place, right? She's interested, he's interested, but they're not making a move on each other. The universe might be saying it's because they both have something they've got to heal from. When they no longer have to heal is when they'll be, they won't be like, oh, I hope I bump into them at some point. They'll probably be more proactive in going out and getting what they want. But for the time being, they are not gravitating toward each other. It's all up here. It's going to take a long time, possibly. Universe, will they eventually encounter each other or eventually be more proactive? The universe is like, the world is a big place, but it moves in small circles. Yes, we know that. But this says new cycles. The world is new beginnings, old endings. What does that mean for them? I don't understand. Is this just like, well, it all depends on what they choose to do? Six of Cups. They'll definitely still end up in each other's environment, but it won't be right now. What has to happen first? I mean, we can see that they actually still have a little bit to heal from, which is why they're not like actively moving toward each other. They do have to get more healed from whatever is at the core of why they're not reaching out to each other. And then they'll have to make those moves. But can we see like the single most valuable thing that will make these two encounter each other? Soulmates are always going to come back around. Ace of Sacred Circles. That's a brand new beginning. It's a new start. That's with this Ace of Sacred Circles, we also see like that line drawn in the sand. It either says that they will both feel in their own minds and hearts that they have made some changes in themselves, and they can separate like their past experiences with how they view, like they have to look at life differently. Maybe they have to believe in soulmates in a different way, instead of like, oh, this longing and gosh, we could be good together, but I don't think that he's accessible. And she's like, I don't think he's accessible. Maybe they have to quit thinking about inaccessibility and start believing that, wait a minute, soulmates, people that I feel drawn to, those are connections for a reason. I'm damn sure not going to let somebody that I feel connected to slip through my fingers and not ever get the chance to talk to them in this lifetime. Why would I have to wait till next lifetime or hope something magically happens? I'm in charge of me. I can totally reach out now. They have to do things different. These characters have to do things different. They have to take charge of their life in this lifetime. Will they be doing this soon? I mean, we saw that they definitely are not going to be talking right now. Judgment card. We got echoes of many nights spent alone before we have the like jumping through the portal. This could coincide with a specific like timeline. Obviously, this is Scorpio energy, but this could coincide with like, let's say around an eclipse or something celestial, because we got like that portal, that vortex of energy. This could be maybe this will happen where it could be her also who reaches out first, but this may happen somewhere at like a particular time this year. I look at the world card as a cycle of a year, so I still feel like it's this year when they will go ahead and talk, but it might not be until later on. Maybe when we've got like a moon in Scorpio, or we've got something. I'd have to look at the calendar and see when those things are happening, but it feels like it will happen. But I think she's going to be the instigator of it. All right, I'm going to leave that there. Thanks so much for hanging out. Thanks for giving it a thumbs up. Bye.